An exciting memory that comes to my mind is the trip to the presidential inauguration, January 2013. The trip was a complete surprise to me. At Christmas, as we were opening presents, my mom handed me what she said was my last present. I ripped the wrapping off of a small box. It was a pair of leather gloves. Inside the box was a letter. As I opened the letter, my mom told me to read the letter out loud. To my surprise, it was a letter from the President of the United States, Barack Obama. I could hardly contain myself as I read the letter. The letter was telling me that I was chosen to attend the inauguration in Washington, D.C. It included a small itinerary for the trip. The letter also stated that I could not share this trip with anyone, and my mom was going to be my traveling companion. I was so excited because first, I had never been to Washington. Second, I have never flown on a plane. And third, I was going to experience an historic moment. I really wanted to tell my friends that I was going on a trip, but I couldn't tell them. After a couple of weeks, I was told by my friend's mom that we had a meeting with our principal, Dr. Chambers. We wanted to know why we had a meeting with the principal, but my friend's mom said she didn't know. To make a long story short, we thought we were in trouble, but we found out that we were going on the trip together. To my to our surprise, the meeting was an informative meeting for the trip, and we also found out that two of our other friends were going on the trip also. So Mackenzie, Cloney, Paris, and I were all going to Washington to experience an historic event. The other people that were going on the trip included my mom, Mackenzie's mom, Dr. Chambers and her son, Mrs. Murphy, Mrs. Hill, and Representative Joe Justel and his son. We all met at the airport in Houston on Saturday, January 19, 2013. As I was excited because I had never been through the airport process. It took a while to go through everything, but it was interesting. We had a layover in North Carolina and we all almost missed our plane in Washington. We all had to run because they were about to give our seats away. That was the first mishap. We stayed in a hotel located in Arlington, Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C. After we arrived at the hotel and got settled, we all walked down the street to a good Cajun restaurant. We had a good time there and the food was good. On Sunday, we slept in a while and decided to go to the Smithsonian Museum. We had to walk to the subway in order to ride into Washington. None of us had ever been on a subway except for Mr. Destil and his son. The second mishap occurred when Paris and I almost missed getting on the subway. We had no idea that we had to hurry and get on. We were busy taking pictures. After we arrived in the mall area of Washington, we had the opportunity to take pictures with some army men and visit some of the different museums, such as the Museum of African History and the Museum of Natural Science. All of the museums were very big, and there was a lot to see. We had lunch at the place called Ollie's Trolley. I, it was a beautiful sunny day and it was very cold. There were beautiful buildings and workers were setting up for the presidential parade. We got a chance to see the CNN and CBS news booth. On Monday, we left at 4:30 in the morning to ride the subway to the inauguration. We stood in the mall area for hours waiting for the inauguration, which started at 12 noon. It was freezing. We used hand and feet warmers to stay warm in addition to the layers of clothes, big coats, and snow boots. And the inauguration was very exciting. Even though we were not that close, we saw everything on big TV monitors. We did not stay for the parade. We watched it from the hotel room. On Tuesday, we visited the Spa Museum and the Holocaust Museum. We also did a lot of walking touring a small part of Washington. We had dinner at Sweet Georgia Brown's and met Father George Clemens, the first priest to adopt children. There is a movie about his story. Our trip ended on Wednesday. We arrived back in Houston and drove back to Port Arthur. The memories of the trip will never be forgotten.